The first thing, actually, the question I given to you at the beginning of this class today, which is to differentiate between the filters for working on host and filters working on a network level. Uh, it, it is a consideration actually that you have to recognize. You may talk about stateful filters or packet-based filters, the firewall that they are filtering the flow based on the state of the conversation, or they are looking to the packets one by one separately. But both of them actually they are to work on a host basis or on a network basis, more or less. So on a host, so they are talking about the processes and the inter-process communication. So on top of the CPU, is the host-based filtering, or on top of the, let's say, the network card or the network interface, the flow that gets in and out from a host to the external environment and the vice versa from the external environment to the host. So this is the unique differentiation. But both of them, they are working on top of a state uh, communication state or on top of a packet uh, basis filtering. So we continue. The network vulnerabilities in this unit, we are going to see the techniques that they are actually utilized to realize network attacks. The technology only we are going to study. We are going to see the technology how to be implemented to tackle the concept of attacks. We are not going to learn attacks as per attacks, but we are going to learn the technology behind of that. We are going to classify them into groups also. In addition to that, we are going to see the issues that they cause to, when you say technology, so it's an approach to do, but it is classified to be an attack threat because of issues, availability of issues. We are going to cover that also. So let's get started. The concern of the concern of the vulnerabilities here starts with um, here we are going to discuss uh, very famous attacks happening on the public networks. Generally, we are talking about the internet, but not only. Uh, from the very famous attack that we might think about as first is the distributed attacks. We saw that in the unit number one and also in the unit number two when we talked about the classification of malware. We defined the zombies, the botnets, the backdoors, and also when we clearly define the distributed attacks, the DOS or the concept of the distributed attacks, it is one of the very famous threats available on the public networks. So you'd have, as a member from the public internet, from the public network, you'd have actually the chance to be attacked by several attackers from different locations and being spread. Actually, the source of the attack be spread over the internet, and you know the internet is covering the whole globe. So he's one of the very famous kind of attack. This is actually a sort of just it's just a state. One of the attacks that happened on and given a name happened on the governmental, let's say, network in China that caused disastrous results, more or less. So it's a matter of statistics only. Uh, good. The technology that they actually are utilized to technologies here. I use the word technologies to that it is utilized to go beyond scanning, controlling, reading, working with the network content. See what I'm using. See the words I'm using. The network content is the flow only. So whatever it has to be sent over a network, whether the network is a connection connected in a connection mode or in a wireless mode, whatever. The technologies here they are numerous. And most of them are the very famous ones we are tackling here. The monitoring of traffic. The monitoring of traffic is a context of reading what the flow what is the flow content, direction, analyzing the content itself, recognizing who is the sender, the destination, um, and other criteria we may actually extract when we do the scan on the traffic, the network of traffic. This is the context of the monitoring. Great, great. To do this monitoring, this control, we might refer to more than one solution, more than one technology, using the very famous switch devices that are equipped with monitoring, let's say, capabilities. Here in this context, we are going to make a port mirroring in the sense of we are going to make a mirror of a content, or we are going to install dedicated tools, dedicated monitoring tools. Here we are talking about a TAP, test access point, which is a tool to to filter what has to be passed or not, what has to be passed or what not have to be passed. It has to come in between two, whether this or this has to come in between two network trunks, network one, network two, or network part one, network part two. Let's have a look with a visual effect. Graphically, or let's say visually, we might use switches to interconnected devices, also switch to interconnect switches. Here we are using a core switch. Here we are using actually a dedicated switch or network switch, rank level switch, or something like that. A normal switch is a core switch. Why? Because it is interconnecting sub switches, sub networks in this context. The first technology defined here, the port mirroring, it is to be installed on a switch, or it is to be seen on top of a switch to generate, let's say, a mirror of what has been generated, and this mirror would be actually received by a dedicated device for monitoring. Clear, easy. An example of let's say monitoring tools, sniffers. They are classified to be very famous software here utilized for monitoring. Those software, those sniffers here, they are static attack tools, and we say attack. Why? Because they are to extract what has been communicated here, the data, the info, the data, what has been communicated without any consent. So any sniffer available on a network can sniff what is being communicated in the network without any consent, without any permission request. So immediately you get a copy. Sniffers. There are so many tools they are classified to be sniffers. This is an example of protocol analyzer. Protocol analyzer is to tell you who is the sender, who is the receiver, time of communication, protocol utilized, and the information itself, the data communicated itself. The second technology we defined also, we presented, which is the TAP, the test access point. It is another tool dedicated for filtering the in-out flow. In-out, what does it mean? The flow that has been sent from the internal network to the external network. This example, for example, for the left to the external, which is the internet, or the vice versa. The flow that comes from the external network to the internal network. The TAP, the test access point, it is a tool dedicated to filter what has been sent or not and generate a copy to be utilized by a dedicated device for monitoring purposes. So whether we use a switch with a port mirroring capabilities, or we use a test access point tool dedicated device for, let's say, controlling the flow. So at the end of the day, we are having a network parameter here, network parameter, or here it's also a network parameter utilized to control the flow from to, and so on. Here also from to, two. So we have a network parameter where a device is playing a role, a device with a software, absolutely, with a dedicated tools and software tools to monitor what has to be actually communicated. Great. Uh, when we say actually sniffers, they are tools. Sniffers, they are tools actually to sniff, to extract what has been communicated, what is being communicated in lifetime, what is being communicated in the network level. So those attacks, they might have actually an impact. I just said now in a few minutes, I said that it is a static attack in the sense of they would not harm or they would not modify, alter the sniffers. The sniffers, they would not modify what has been actually detected in the network. They would actually have a copy only. They would do the eavesdropping attack. The eavesdropping attack. Now, what does it mean, the eavesdropping attack? What is the eavesdropping? What is an eavesdrop? Eavesdrop attack. Are you with me? Great. Those attacks whether no worries, I'll continue. No worries. Those attacks, whether they are static or dynamic, whatever, they actually have to have some impact. The least, since they are static, the least is to expose data, to expose the usernames, to expose the passwords, to expose the files and the resources themselves, and so on. This is the least. And the exposure here, it's one of the eavesdropping results. It means to just listen to what is happening, read what is happening, what is there, just to see, to have a copy. That's it. That is an eavesdropping attack. To expose. It's a privacy break. Let's say attack, something like that, to break the privacy of a communication. Remember that they are that it is not legitimate, so this is not allowed to do. But for that as technologies, the network sniffers, they would be actually utilized. They would be utilized for attacks, but originally they are not for attacks. They are for analyzing. They are for analyzing. They are very legitimate. They are technically allowed to use. They are to be used for analyzing the network flow, but to be used for with a consent. So there have to be a consent. So legitimate in the case of they are declared to be utilized. So we declare that we are going to use this tool to do to do tell and tell. So they are legitimate. If they are being utilized without consent, without announcement, so those are not legitimate and they are doing an attack. How actually those sniffers, they are to be utilized without consent? If you are not allowed to access the network itself, how you will be actually successful in doing this attack? How you will use your sniffer to sniff the network flow? How you use your sniffer to read the network flow? How you do that? So there have to be a vulnerability that you as an attacker, you utilize, you gain, you exploit and you utilize to do the sniffing activity, to do this sniffing attack. From those vulnerabilities, what we see here, the false sign, exposed wiring, or the, let's say, unprotected RJ45. False sign, what is it? Is to put the network wiring in a cover which is easy to open. False silent. So we have a silent for the wires. Yes, it's a protective channel, but false. Why? Because we can easily open manually or easily open with a screwdriver or something like that. So false. It is a protection to the wires, yes, but it is not hard enough. False silent, easy to open. So attackers can come in an obscure way and they can open secretly those silents and they can use the wires. Or immediately the wires they are exposed directly. Wires, the network wires they are exposed, they are open, they are available in the wall, they are available visually, and everybody can use. Exposed the wires, so they are not protected. So this is a vulnerability that the attacks can use also. Or not only that, network ports dedicated, they are nominated RJ45 because they are the ones utilized by computers for getting connected to the network in general, not only internet. The ports, the network port, it is named RJ45. So if they are available in the world without protection, so this is another vulnerability, which is actually commonly, it's a common behavior with all organizations. They are setting RJ45 ports on the wall without being utilized. So they are kept unprotected. Thus, this is an exploitable vulnerability that attackers might use. They come and plug their computers on those unprotected RJ45 and they are inside the network. They can sniff at least. If they can do more than that, this is good. But the least thing is that they can get a copy of what is being there in the network. So exactly what I was describing the false sign, exposed wire, and the unprotected RJ45 examples. Actually, technical words here we are going to discuss now on this table. Technical words that they are describing impact of, let's say, network attacks. Impact of network attacks. So we saw some techniques, sorry, some technologies. The tap or these switches equipped with port mirroring technologies that can be utilized to monitor network flow. And we discussed the static attacks, which is the least network attack can be happening. Static attack using the sniffers, example protocol analyzers. And we said that vulnerabilities that might lead to those least attacks means that there are more dangerous attacks than the sniffers, the sniffing without consent. Vulnerabilities like the false sailing or the unprotected exposed wires and the unprotected RJ45. Those are examples of exploitable issues and vulnerabilities on the network level that attackers can use to achieve and do the static attacks or the sniffing activity. Here we are going to see some technology, let's say technical words, technical descriptions, describing network attacks, effects or impacts or results or consequences. What happens after after a network attack is being succeeded. When we say to switch to Fluiden, it might be a technique, but this is actually a title. This is a technical description. So we will do, I can come to you in a lab, one of the practical sessions. I tell you, let's do a switch Fluiden today. Okay, what is it? This is a technical approach. This is a description. This is a technique if you know the steps. But what does it mean as terminology? Switch Fluiden. We know the switch is a network layer 3, or in some cases network layer 2 devices, and they are equipped with a least smartness that they can actually be utilized to control the flow from in. Fluiden, the switch is common sense. We are going to refer to the technology used by the switch. We are going to refer to the technology used by the switch to redirect packets, and we are going to give extra work to the switch at the level that he will fail to serve more requests. So he is Fluiden. I repeat. So an attacker will refer to the technology used here actually to filter based on the MAC or based on the IP address, whatever the technology is. The switch will recognize who is the sender, who is the receiver, and he will redirect packets from to. He will do his job, his normal activity. But the attack, what he will do, he will address this technology by sending actually more requests to the switch to make him either get stuck or be sending everything to everybody. He will stuck, he will not serve anybody. Class, he's included. Or he will send every message to everybody. He receives a message, he sends it to everybody. In all cases, he is good. He will not do his job as he has to do. Normally, a switch, if he receives a message from port A and the message is going to port C, so he has to send A to C immediately. That's it. No, when he is flooded, either he will not send and he will not receive, or he will receive and send to everybody. Packets to all devices. Flooded. Because he is actually over, let's say, addressed with requests. MAC address impersonation. Actually, the MAC address is one of the physical addresses that all digital devices that can be connected to a network are equipped with. Medium access control or media access control. This is actually a physical address like the IP address. Not all digital devices equipped with network interface cards are having. This is the physical address that is unique worldwide. To describe all your mobile has a MAC, your laptop has a MAC, your desktop has a MAC, and none is similar to any other MAC worldwide. Great. So this is the technology what it says. MAC address impersonation. What does the MAC do? The MAC actually it is to be utilized to match this device with let's say a service, let's say address. We can say the IP address. MAC with IP, so we recognize the service to whom or from whom. To impersonate this MAC means we are going to falsify, impersonate. We are going to say that computer 2 is having the MAC of computer 1. So we are impersonating the computer 1 in computer 2, which is not true. So any other computers, if he is willing to send to A computer 1, so he will find computer 2 having the same MAC. So he will send to computer 2. This is due to the impersonation. Yeah. So if you can see this graph here, yeah, this is B, this is C. In the case of if both computers they do have the same MAC address, for example, they would never have like a real case. In real case, they would never have the same MAC address. But if an attacker here, see where I'm pointing, would be able to impersonate the real computer MAC address. What does it mean? In this case, MAC of the computer B. If it is to be impersonated here, means this computer will say, hey, switch, I have the MAC of the computer B. I am B. So my MAC is the MAC B, MAC of the computer B. When this MAC or this computer tries to send a message to the computer B, the switch, what he will do? He will search, where is the B? Where is the B? Where is this B? So this is the B. So he will direct the message to B, which at the time he is an attacker. It's not a B. So this is due to the MAC address impersonation. Fake network redialed or fake device redialed. Fake network redialed or fake device redialed. Actually, it's the same context, but here we are seeing it differently. Either we are talking about a network layer, network level, or device level. In all cases, we are having two communicating parties, and somebody's getting he's doing interference. So he's interfering communication between A and B. Somehow he will cause the network flow to be redirected. See here, actually, this attack, it is a man-in-the-middle attack. It is a kind of a man-in-the-middle attack. Why? Because the redirection, whether we are talking about a fake network redirect or device fake device redirect or something like that. So network layer or device level. In all cases, in all cases, the communication to happen in between two devices, whether they are, I can use this one better. So device A, device B, whatever the device is, we are having a network device or we are having a terminal. So the genuine communication is the green one. Somebody comes in between, he disconnects the genuine communication and everything has to pass through. So this one has to be blocked. This actually, it has not to happen. But due to some missing configuration or security issues, the original connection will not work. But everything to be passing through a man-in-the-middle device, actually, because a device that exists in between, because of a successful man-in-the-middle attack. How it happened? Because this one has impersonated another device. So this device here, it is due to a fake device redirect. And since it is caused, actually, this fake device, it has caused a redirection of flow to a let's say, legitimate direction. It is a network redirect. So it's at the end, we are describing the same context, but here, whether we are impersonating a device or we are talking about the flow that has been deviated. Man-in-the-middle attack. If we describe the flow that has been deviated, so we are talking about fake network redirect. If we are talking about the device impersonation, so we are talking about a fake device redirect. Router advertisement, actually, it is one of the very famous network, let's say, technologies. And this approach, it is to be utilized by the routers to indicate that it is alive to all the connected devices. If I ask you, actually, are you connected to the internet now? Right now. You say, yes, I'm listening to you over the internet. That's good. Okay, your mobile device, is it connected? Can you just give me a hint? You see the network signal icon, and you tell, yes, I'm connected, or no, I'm not connected. Your device will say that he is connected, and he will note to you, and he will give you a hint. He will give you an icon, a picture, an image, a small icon on top of your mobile, somewhere in your mobile, in your screen, saying that yes, he is connected. Why? Because he's receiving a signal from the network access device or network. Let's say we may talk about the router. Every router, actually, it is responsible of connecting devices and maintaining the connectivity of all devices he's communicating with by sending advertisement messages. The advertisement messages, the router advertisement message, it is a packet sent to all devices. It is a frame or packet is sent to all devices, indicating that yes, still alive. It is to be sent every 0.2 seconds, actually every 0.2 seconds. Actually, this is a common theoretical definition, but in real time we find other numbers to indicate that still the device is still connected. And because of the reception, the device, when he receives the advertisement message, he will say, yes, I'm still connected. He will display the icon of the network. So the route advertisement, it's a message sent by the router to say that he is, to help the device recognize that he is still connected. What is the concern here? So this is the technology we are describing. got these technologies that to be utilized to indicate that a device is connected, so the router has to send to communicate advertisement messages. Like, what's the problem? The problem is that an attacker might pretend that he is a router and sends router advertisement messages by stating that his device is the router. So devices will note that they are connected and they will communicate with the attacker's device. Is it clear?
Yes,
Okay,
Mr. Clear.
great, great. So another level in the network, let's say vulnerabilities and network issues, is the concern of security. Everything to be communicated on the network, it has to be authenticated, otherwise it will not be actually allowed to pass by the filters or the network security appliances or whatever. Amongst the security mechanism is the basic one, which is the password based. So you have to authenticate your communications, your processes, your activities on the network layer by an authentication mechanism based. Basically, we may talk about the password based authentication scenario. And since the password is an alphanumerical value, so it might be actually guessed. There are so many techniques that might be utilized to break your password. Thus, it has to be kept in a safe and secure area, and you may utilize a third-party tool to save your passwords, in plurals passwords, uh, like the KeePass here. It is one of the tools that you can utilize to save your passwords. So it is not a good habit to use a password for all your platforms, for the social media, for your personal accounts, for your professional accounts, for your work, for your study, for anything you use. It's not good to use the same password for all. It is a good habit to use a different password for every platform separately. And since this is a good habit, so how you memorize all the passwords? You have to use a tool to save. You may say that I'm going to save them in a Word file or a Notepad file. So you may do that, but if the Word file or the Notepad, it is an easy to expose. It is an easy tool. It is an easy way to give hackers a chance to get that file and expose and read your content of your password at the end of the day. But those tools, they would save and, let's say, encrypt them. They will not let anybody use them unless you give a password, you give actually how to open, and you'll have your channel to access your passwords, your saved passwords. You have to protect more than that. It's not only to save your password in a safe area, but also to use complex passwords enough in order to fail the attacks against the passwords. So the characteristics of the password has to be actually respected also to protect your assets. This is for your good only. Okay. If you hear your name, please say yes. If you hear your name, just say yes.